Deep in the heart of the Milky Way, the Galactic Empire cruised through the cosmos like a leviathan, its massive ships cutting through the void. Star maps glowed in the dim lights of the command center aboard the flagship Imperator *, where Admiral Vrax surveyed the latest scans. His sharp features were taut with anticipation as he pointed to a bright blue orb, a planet seemingly rich in resources. Earth, he announced, his voice echoing in the hushed chamber. This world is ripe for conquest. On Earth, Maya Chen sat in a small observatory, a collection of old telescopes and cutting-edge technology surrounding her. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, eyes wide with excitement. For weeks, she'd been tracking anomalies in the solar system, but this was different. As her systems beeped and flashed, a series of unidentified ships emerged on her screen, rapidly approaching their blue home. "Professor, you need to see this," she called, her voice a mixture of excitement and dread. Professor Larkin, an old-school astronomer with a knack for storytelling, shuffled into the room. He squinted at the screens. "What in the cosmos are we looking at?" "Ships, massive ones. I think they're not from here." Maya's heart raced. "If they're hostile, we have to warn someone." As she sent a transmission to the government, her mind raced with thoughts of the consequences. Larkin, sensing her anxiety, placed a hand on her shoulder. "We need to prepare for every possibility, Maya." Meanwhile, back in the Galactic Empire's command center, the council members were gathering to discuss their strategy. Admiral Vrax stood at the head of the table, flanked by his most trusted advisors. "We'll send a delegation to initiate contact," he declared, his eyes narrowing. "They'll learn their place." One advisor, a young strategist named Taris, hesitated. "What if they resist? This planet appears primitive. We should proceed with caution." Vrax dismissed the concern with a wave of his hand. "Caution breeds weakness. If they threaten us, we'll crush them. Set a course for Earth. Prepare the fleet." As the Empire's ships surged toward Earth, Maya's warning reached the government's communications center. The nation's leaders convened in a crisis meeting, voices raised in alarm. Ambassador Elena Rivera, a seasoned diplomat with a fierce spirit, stood at the forefront. "We cannot allow this invasion to proceed unchallenged. We must show them we're not to be trifled with." Maya's transmission had been broadcasted to the world, igniting discussions across every nation. People watched as news anchors conveyed the gravity of the situation. With every report, fear intertwined with determination. Humanity's fate rested on how they would respond to this alien threat. Elena, fueled by the urgency of the moment, crafted a message. "We must send them a warning. If they think they can take our home without consequence, they are gravely mistaken." As the message was finalized, Maya and her team monitored the ships closing in on Earth. Her heart pounded as she sent the signal into space. "This is Earth's representative. Stay away from our planet. We will defend ourselves." The reply was swift and scornful, echoing back through the void. The Empire dismissed her words as bluster from a lesser species, but Maya could sense the tremors of unease ripple through their ranks. She turned to Professor Larkin, eyes bright with determination. "They may underestimate us, but we won't let them take our home." As the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, illuminating a world unaware of the storm approaching, humanity braced itself for the fight of its life. The stage was set. The players were in motion, and the battle for Earth had only just begun. As dawn broke over Earth, the tension in the air was palpable. The world was waking up to a new reality, one filled with uncertainty and fear. In a secure communications bunker, Ambassador Elena Rivera paced back and forth, her brow furrowed with determination. Around her, A team of experts monitored the incoming data from Maya Chen's observatory, which had become the nerve center for the impending crisis. "Are we sure they received our message?" Elena asked, her voice steady despite the anxiety swirling within her. "Confirmation just came in," replied a communications officer, his eyes glued to the screen. "They dismissed it. They think we're bluffing." Elena's jaw clenched. "Then we need to show them we're not. If they believe we're weak, they'll strike without hesitation." She turned to her team, her passion igniting their spirits. "We must be ready for anything. If they think we're a primitive species, we'll give them a taste of what humanity is capable of." Meanwhile, aboard the Imperator Asterisk, Admiral Vrax watched as Earth's blue-green orb swelled on the view screen. His confidence radiated throughout the ship. "Prepare the fleet for landing. We'll make our presence known. Let them witness the might of the Galactic Empire." As the ships entered Earth's atmosphere, the populace began to react. News channels ran constant updates, broadcasting the alien ships hovering ominously above cities. Social media exploded with debates and opinions, fear mingled with calls for unity. As humanity's heart raced, a sense of resolve began to emerge. Back in the bunker, Elena and her team worked feverishly to prepare a strategic plan. They gathered military leaders and scientists, drawing from every discipline to present a united front. "We need to counteract their technological advantage," said Carl Ramirez, a seasoned strategist. "If we can gather data on their ships, we might find a way to exploit their weaknesses." Maya, still buzzing with adrenaline from her earlier discoveries, chimed in. "I've been monitoring their communications. There are distinct patterns that suggest they rely heavily on a central command structure. If we can disrupt that, we could confuse them during an attack." Elena nodded, impressed by Maya's quick thinking. "We can use that to our advantage. Let's create a distraction, something to draw their focus away while we gather intel." In the weeks that followed, preparations escalated. Earth's nations set aside their differences, pooling resources and expertise. Scientists worked alongside military tacticians, devising plans that combined cutting-edge technology with guerrilla strategies. The world united under the banner of survival, inspired by the urgent need to defend their home. As the Empire's ships hovered over major cities, Elena decided to send a second, more assertive message. This time, it would be broadcast globally, an act of defiance intended to rally humanity. With the world watching, she stood before the camera, her voice resolute. "To the Galactic Empire, you may think you can intimidate us, but know this. We will defend our planet with every fiber of our being. We are not mere insects to be crushed underfoot. Stay away from Earth." The broadcast ignited a wave of fervor across the globe. Streets filled with crowds chanting in support, a unified chorus of defiance against the impending threat. In homes and public squares, people stood together, their collective resolve palpable. Back on the Imperator Asterisk, Vrax watched the broadcast with a mix of amusement and annoyance. "They think they can resist us. How quaint," he scoffed. Yet, a flicker of doubt began to form in the back of his mind. He had always underestimated lesser civilizations. He turned to Taris, who was studying the feed intently. "Your predictions may have merit after all," Taris murmured, a hint of concern in his voice. "They are rallying. We should proceed with caution." But Vrax waved him off. "Caution breeds weakness. We will teach them a lesson they won't forget." As the Empire prepared to make its move, Elena and her team gathered in the bunker, eyes filled with determination. They knew the battle for Earth was just beginning, and they were ready to fight back with everything they had. Humanity's spirit was awakening, and the stage was set for a showdown unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The tension in the air was electric as the Empire's fleet loomed over major cities, casting long shadows that darkened the spirits of many. Elena Rivera and her team huddled in the operations room, watching real-time feeds of the alien ships positioned ominously in the sky. The time for diplomacy was rapidly fading, and it was becoming clear that the Galactic Empire had no intention of leaving Earth unscathed. "Alert all military branches," Elena commanded, her voice cutting through the anxious chatter. "We need to be prepared for immediate action. We're not just defending a planet, we're protecting our way of life." Carol Ramirez was at her side, analyzing the data streaming in from various military installations. "We've scrambled our jets and have ground forces on alert, but they're still vastly outgunned. We need a plan that capitalizes on their underestimation of us." Maya, her eyes shining with determination, piped up. "What if we don't engage head-on? Instead, we use our knowledge of the terrain. We can stage a guerrilla attack, hit and run tactics that confuse them and exploit their reliance on centralized command. We can blend in with the population." The room fell silent for a moment as everyone considered her words. It was risky, but they all knew they had little choice. The Empire had dismissed their earlier warnings. Now it was time to show them the true resolve of humanity. As they strategized, the Empire prepared to initiate its first assault. Vrax, fueled by arrogance, ordered his fleet to deploy ground troops into strategic urban centers. He believed that once the Empire demonstrated its might, humanity would surrender without a fight. "They'll learn quickly that defiance is futile," he declared, his confidence unwavering. When the first wave of alien troops descended onto the streets of New York, panic erupted. Civilians fled as the Empire's soldiers, clad in advanced armor, began their reconnaissance. But unbeknownst to them, Maya and a team of military strategists had set a trap. Utilizing drones equipped with EMP devices, Maya initiated a coordinated attack from various vantage points around the city. "Now," she shouted, her heart racing as she pressed the button to deploy the drones. The devices surged into the air, unleashing pulses that disrupted the Empire's communication systems. Confusion spread among the alien forces as their command structures faltered. Soldiers stumbled disoriented, unsure of their next move. Maya watched from her command post, exhilaration flooding her veins as the drones executed their mission. Carol Ramirez smiled, impressed by the effectiveness of the plan. "This is it. We can push them back." As ground forces took advantage of the chaos, Earth's military launched an assault. Jets screamed overhead, engaging the Empire's ships in dogfights, while infantry moved swiftly through the streets, utilizing urban cover to outmaneuver their technologically superior opponents. The first skirmish was underway, and humanity was showing no signs of backing down. Meanwhile, on the Imperator Asterisk, Vrax was fuming. "What is happening down there? They shouldn't be capable of this." His voice rose in frustration as he watched the feeds from Earth. The humans were fighting back, showcasing a level of coordination and strategy he hadn't anticipated. Taris, attempting to maintain calm amidst the chaos, offered a different perspective. "Admiral, perhaps we underestimated their capacity for innovation and unity. They're using unconventional tactics that are disrupting our operations." "Send reinforcements," Vrax ordered, gritting his teeth. "We will crush them, but first, we need to regain control of the situation." Back on Earth, the fight raged on. Elena's heart swelled with pride as she watched her people stand united against the invaders. "This is just the beginning," she said, determination etched on her face. They've awakened a spirit in us that they'll never extinguish. We will show them what it means to fight for our home. As the first skirmish concluded with humans holding their ground, the Empire realized they were in for a fight unlike any they had encountered. With every pulse of energy and each roar of jet engines, humanity's resolve solidified, setting the stage for an escalating conflict that would challenge the very foundations of the Galactic Empire. In the aftermath of the initial skirmish, the streets of New York were a cacophony of sounds. Sirens blaring, engines roaring, and a distant hum of alien technology. Maya Chen, adrenaline still surging through her veins, stood at the command center, eyes fixed on the screens displaying the chaotic battlefield. She could hardly believe the resilience of humanity in the face of overwhelming odds. "Look at this," a tech specialist shouted, pointing at the feed from the drones. "We've disrupted their communication channels and localized their operations. They're vulnerable." Colonel Ramirez nodded, his mind racing. "We need to capitalize on this momentum. If we can push them back now, we can reclaim our cities, but we'll need to show them we're serious." Elena stepped forward, a spark of determination in her eyes. "Let's deploy the prototype defense system. It's untested, but we've run simulations that suggest it could turn the tide. We need to demonstrate that we're capable of more than just guerrilla tactics." As the team mobilized, Maya felt a mix of fear and excitement. The prototype, a powerful energy weapon harnessing advanced technology and renewable energy, had the potential to level the playing field, but it was still in its early stages. She knew the risks involved, but also understood the stakes. If they didn't act decisively, the Empire would regroup and retaliate. Within hours, Earth's military had established a perimeter around Central Park, the chosen location for the weapons deployment. The prototype was wheeled into position, its sleek design glimmering ominously in the fading light. It stood like a sentinel ready to defend humanity's last stand. As twilight descended, the Empire launched a counteroffensive. Vrax, now furious and desperate to regain control, ordered an all-out assault on the park. Ships hovered overhead, releasing waves of infantry who marched into the fray, their laser weapons primed for destruction. Elena stood with Maya and Ramirez on the front line, their hearts pounding in unison. "Remember, we're fighting for our home," Elena shouted to the troops, her voice cutting through the noise. "This is not just a battle for survival, it's a fight for our future." As the Empire's forces advanced, Maya activated the defense system. A blinding beam of energy surged from the weapon, slicing through the air and striking the nearest alien ship. The explosion lit up the sky, showering the park in an eerie glow. Gasps echoed among the human forces as they witnessed the weapon's powerful stand. "Now," Ramirez shouted, rallying the troops, "push forward. Show them what we're made of." The humans surged into battle, buoyed by the sight of their newfound strength. The prototype's energy beam cut a swath through the alien ranks, causing confusion and chaos. Soldiers rallied, emboldened by the realization that they could fight back effectively. Back on the Imperator Asterisk, Vrax watched in disbelief as his forces faltered. What is happening? They shouldn't be able to do this. He slammed his fist on the console, frustration boiling over. "Admiral," Tara surged, "we need to regroup and reassess our strategy. Their weapon is disrupting our formation. If we don't pull back, we risk losing everything." But Vrax, blinded by his hubris, refused to retreat. "No, we will crush this rebellion. Reinforce our troops and prepare the heavy artillery. They will learn the true meaning of power." As the battle intensified, the humans fought with renewed vigor. The sight of their prototype weapon wreaking havoc on the Empire's forces galvanized their spirit. Each fallen alien soldier was a testament to their determination, each pulse of energy a declaration of independence. Elena, amidst the chaos, felt a sense of unity enveloping her. "We're not just fighting for survival," she thought, her heart pounding with pride. "We're fighting for our identity, for every life that calls Earth home." The tide of battle began to turn, the Empire realizing that humanity was not the easy conquest they had anticipated. As night fell, the sound of victory reverberated through the air. The humans had shown strength, resilience, and most importantly, they had awakened a collective spirit that would not easily be extinguished. But even as they celebrated this hard-fought victory, a shadow loomed larger in the galaxy. The battle was far from over, and the Galactic Empire was only beginning to understand the depth of the resolve they had stirred. As the smoke from the battlefield began to dissipate, and the last echoes of conflict faded into the night, the Galactic Empire convened in its Grand Council chamber. The atmosphere was tense, a palpable mixture of frustration and disbelief hanging in the air. Admiral Vrax stood at the head of a long circular table, flanked by his advisors, their faces illuminated by holographic displays of the recent battle. "Admiral, this is unacceptable," a council member, an older dignitary with a pronounced scowl, began. "We underestimated these humans, and now they've embarrassed us on their own soil." Vrax shot a glare at the speaker, his temper flaring. Embarrassed? They fought back like cornered animals. We should have crushed them swiftly, but they displayed ingenuity and courage we failed to anticipate. Another advisor, Taris, leaned forward, concern etched on his face. "Admiral, I believe we need to reassess our approach. These humans are not the primitive beings we thought them to be. They've demonstrated both unity and strategic prowess that could pose a real threat if we continue to provoke them." Vrax slammed his fist on the table, his voice booming. "Weakness is not an option. We must respond with overwhelming force to teach them a lesson they won't forget. Prepare the heavy artillery and ready the fleet for a renewed assault. We will not retreat." "But, sir," Taris interjected, "if we proceed recklessly, we risk igniting a conflict that could escalate beyond our control. We've already lost valuable resources and personnel. This is not just about Earth. It could destabilize our entire region of the galaxy." Vrax shot Taris a withering look, but the young strategist continued, his voice steadier. "Instead of brute force, we could attempt to negotiate. We could offer them a place within the Empire, allow them to join us willingly rather than through domination. They might see the value in that." Murmurs rippled through the council as the idea took root. "Negotiate with these savages?" Vrax scoffed. "They're too proud. They'll see it as a sign of weakness." Taris pressed on, undeterred. "Perhaps it's time we recognize that their pride is what makes them formidable. If we offer them a choice rather than demanding submission, we may foster a more sustainable relationship. This could even prevent further conflict with other planets as they grow." The council fell silent, the gravity of Taris's words settling in. Vrax, struggling to contain his irritation, finally relented. "Fine. We will send a delegation to initiate communication. But make no mistake, if they resist, we will show them the full might of the Empire." Meanwhile, back on Earth, the mood was electric. The human forces celebrated their unexpected victory, but Elena and her team knew that the fight was far from over. They gathered in the operations room, strategizing their next steps. "This victory is just the beginning," Elena said, her voice firm. "We need to prepare for whatever retaliation they might unleash. They've already shown us that they're capable of regrouping quickly. Maya nodded, her brow furrowed in concentration. We should use this moment to solidify our defenses. If they send a delegation, we can use the time to fortify key positions and ensure our technology is ready for any surprises. Colonel Ramirez chimed in. We also need to control the narrative. The world is watching. If we can present ourselves as not just fighters, but as defenders of freedom, it could strengthen our resolve and garner more support. As discussions continued, Elena felt a flicker of hope. If the Empire is willing to negotiate, it means we've rattled them. They see us as a threat now. We need to stand firm and use that to our advantage. As the sun began to rise over the horizon, illuminating the world in golden light, Earth prepared for whatever lay ahead. With the Empire reconsidering their approach and humanity rising to the challenge, the stage was set for an unprecedented confrontation. The upcoming negotiations could either forge a new path of coexistence or ignite an even fiercer battle for survival. Either way, humanity was ready to defend its home. And they would do so with the spirit of unity and resilience that had become their greatest weapon. As dawn broke over Earth, the glow of hope mingled with the weight of uncertainty. The victory at Central Park had instilled a fierce pride in humanity, but Elena Rivera and her team understood the fragility of their newfound position. In the command center, discussions shifted from celebration to strategy, each leader aware that the next steps could dictate the fate of their world. Word from the Galactic Empire suggests they're sending a delegation for negotiations. Maya reported, her fingers dancing over the keyboard. They're keen to discuss our terms, but we need to be cautious. This could be a ruse. Elena nodded, her mind racing. We must be prepared for anything. If they think we'll back down now, they're sorely mistaken. We need to send a clear message that Earth is united and ready to defend itself at all costs. Colonel Ramirez chimed in. If they come to the table, we should set the terms of the discussion. Let them know that any attempt at intimidation will be met with immediate retaliation. Maya raised her hand, her brow furrowed with concern. But we also have to think strategically. If we present a united front, but leave room for negotiation, we might be able to secure a better outcome. We should demand respect, but also show that we're willing to consider alternatives. Elena's expression hardened as she took in their words. All right then, let's craft an ultimatum that communicates our strength and our willingness to defend our home, but also leaves the door open for diplomatic resolution. As the team worked through the details, the atmosphere in the room shifted. Each member felt the weight of history upon them, the responsibility to define the narrative of humanity's struggle against a vast empire. They crafted a message that would echo across the galaxy, one that would signal both defiance and hope. Hours later, the news conference began, with Elena standing before a gathered crowd of military leaders, scientists, and journalists. Cameras flashed as she took a deep breath, steeling herself for the moment. To the Galactic Empire, she began, her voice steady and powerful. We acknowledge your intent to negotiate, but let it be known, we will not be intimidated. Our planet, our home, will not fall to conquest. We demand your respect and the recognition of our sovereignty. If you choose to pursue aggression, we will defend ourselves with every resource at our disposal. Stay away from Earth. As her words resonated through the room, a wave of applause erupted from those present. Outside, supporters gathered, chanting in solidarity, their voices rising like a chorus of defiance against the looming threat. Meanwhile, aboard the Imperator Asterisk, Admiral Vrax seethed as he watched the broadcast. How dare they issue an ultimatum, he growled, slamming his fist onto the control panel. The council members shifted uncomfortably, their earlier concerns now magnified. Taris, sensing the rising tension, interjected cautiously. "Admiral, we should consider a diplomatic approach. Their defiance is a sign of strength. Perhaps an acknowledgement of their position could lead to a more favorable outcome for us." "Favor." Vrax spat. "We will not negotiate from a position of weakness. They will learn their place, one way or another." As Vrax's fury simmered, Taris pressed on. "But if we push too hard, we risk igniting a full-scale war. The cost will be immeasurable. We should send a diplomatic envoy, but with a show of strength that reinforces our resolve." Realizing that his options were limited, Vrax grudgingly agreed. "Fine. We will send a delegation, but let it be known that we will not tolerate any further disrespect. Prepare the ships. If they threaten us again, we will strike back with unrelenting force." Back on Earth, the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. Elena and her team knew the Empire would respond, but the question remained, would they choose diplomacy or destruction? As preparations for the impending meeting began, humanity steeled itself for the next chapter of this interstellar confrontation. The stakes had never been higher, and the world held its breath, waiting for the outcome of a conflict that would reshape the future of both Earth and the Galactic Empire. In this pivotal moment, humanity stood at the precipice, ready to defend its existence against a powerful foe. The negotiations hung in a delicate balance, the tension palpable as Elena Rivera faced Admiral Vrax. Each word exchanged felt like a potential spark that could ignite conflict. She could see the skepticism in Vrax's eyes, but she was determined to hold her ground. "Cultural exchanges," Vrax repeated, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "What do you truly hope to gain from this? Your primitive understanding of the universe pales in comparison to our technology and knowledge." Elena stepped closer, the weight of her words heavy with conviction. "Our strength lies not in technology alone, but in our ability to adapt, innovate, and unite. Underestimating us will only lead to your downfall." Vrax's expression hardened, his pride bruised. "You speak of unity, yet your world is rife with division. How can you expect us to believe you can maintain order when your own people are divided?" Before Elena could respond, Maya chimed in. "Our differences have been set aside in the face of this threat. We are united, and our resolve has only strengthened in the face of your aggression." Taris, still observing the exchange closely, sensed an opportunity to shift the conversation. "Admiral, perhaps we can establish a trial period for your terms. If both sides can demonstrate goodwill, we might find common ground." Vrax snorted, incredulous. "A trial? You think we will entertain such notions? You are in no position to dictate terms." As the discussions escalated, a low hum began emanating from the Empire's ships. Elena's instincts kicked in. "What is that noise?" she demanded, eyeing the ships warily. Vrax waved a dismissive hand. "Just our ships powering up. We need to be ready to leave at a moment's notice if this charade continues." But then the hum transformed into a deep rumble, and the ground beneath them began to shake. Panic rippled through the gathered crowd, and Elena's heart raced as she realized the Empire might be preparing for an attack. "Everyone, take cover," she shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. Soldiers quickly formed a protective perimeter around the delegation as the vibrations intensified. In that moment, the facade of diplomacy shattered. Vrax's arrogance turned to anger as he barked orders to his crew. "Prepare the weapons. Show them the consequences of defiance." Elena's mind raced. This isn't just a negotiation anymore. They're going to strike. With a surge of adrenaline, she turned to her team. We need to respond now. Maya, coordinate our defenses. Kano, get our forces ready to counterattack. Maya's fingers flew over her tablet, sending commands to the military units positioned nearby. We're activating the EMP drones. They won't expect it if we strike first. As the first energy pulse erupted from the Empire's ships, chaos ensued. Elena felt the air crackle around her. Now, she shouted, just as the EMP drones launched into the sky. The drones soared toward the Empire's fleet, their intended targets clear. As they released their energy pulses, the alien ships flickered and faltered, their systems momentarily disrupted. The ground trembled less violently, but Vrax's forces were thrown into disarray. "Admiral, the drones!" Taris exclaimed, fear creeping into his voice as he saw their weapon systems failing. Realizing that his plans were unraveling, Vrax's anger turned to desperation. Reinforce the shields. We must regain control. But Elena seized the moment. This is our opportunity. She shouted over the noise, her voice steady. Now that we've demonstrated our capabilities, it's time to show them we will not be cowed. Humanity surged forward, emboldened by the sudden shift in power. The initial panic morphed into a rallying cry as soldiers advanced, ready to defend their home. Vrax, seeing the tide turning, faltered. The humans had caught him off guard, and the possibility of a catastrophic conflict loomed large. "Stand down," he barked, but it was too late. The momentum had shifted. In that instant, both sides stood on the precipice of war, but Elena recognized a turning point. Admiral Vrax. She called, her voice piercing through the chaos. "If you want peace, you must act like it. This cycle of violence ends now." The words hung in the air, a challenge and an invitation. For the first time, Vrax hesitated, caught between pride and survival. In that moment, the future of their worlds teetered, leaving both humanity and the Empire to ponder their next move. Would they choose war, or could they forge an unexpected alliance amidst the chaos? As the applause echoed through the newly established council chamber, the atmosphere was charged with hope and promise. Elena Rivera stood next to Admiral Vrax, both leaders symbolizing the alliance forged from the ashes of conflict. Around them, representatives from Earth and the Galactic Empire mingled, exchanging ideas and visions for a shared future. In the wake of the momentous negotiations, the initial tension had given way to collaboration. Teams of scientists and engineers from both civilizations began working together, sharing knowledge and technology that had previously seemed worlds apart. Humanity's innovations in sustainable energy and medical advancements blended seamlessly with the Empire's superior engineering and advanced propulsion systems. Elena had quickly become a central figure in these discussions, her passionate advocacy for mutual respect guiding the dialogue. She saw it as not only an opportunity for Earth, but a chance to reshape the Empire's perception of lesser worlds. Vrax, too, began to shift his views, realizing that power wasn't just about control, it was also about understanding and growth. One afternoon, as they reviewed plans for a joint research initiative, Elena approached Vrax, her expression earnest. "Admiral, we're on the verge of something monumental. If we can successfully launch our first joint mission, it could solidify this partnership and inspire other worlds to follow our example." Vrax leaned back in his chair, his demeanor less arrogant than in their first encounter. "I must admit, Ambassador, I was skeptical of this alliance. I believed your people would falter under pressure. Instead, you have shown resilience I underestimated." "That resilience comes from our diversity," Elena replied, a smile tugging at her lips. "Every voice matters. That's what makes us strong. As discussions continued, they faced a challenge that would test their newfound alliance. Reports surfaced of rogue factions within the Empire that opposed the collaboration, viewing it as a betrayal. These extremists sought to undermine the treaty and incite conflict, believing the Empire should reclaim dominance over Earth. Elena and Vrax convened an emergency council meeting, aware that the stability of their partnership hung in the balance. "We need to address this immediately," Elena urged, looking around the table at both human and alien leaders. "If we don't stand united against these factions, we risk losing everything we've built." Vrax's expression hardened. "We will not allow a few dissidents to jeopardize this alliance. I will dispatch forces to root out the instigators. However, we must also show our people that we stand as one. A demonstration of unity is essential." Elena nodded. "Agreed. A public address could reinforce our commitment to this partnership and quell any dissenting voices." As plans were put into action, a powerful broadcast was organized. On a clear day, leaders from both sides gathered in the council chamber, now adorned with symbols representing their unified commitment. The world watched, a mix of hope and anxiety permeating the atmosphere. Vrax spoke first, his voice resonating through the crowd. "Today, we stand not as conquerors and the conquered, but as equals, united in our pursuit of knowledge and peace. Together, we will face any threats, both external and internal." Then Elena stepped forward, her heart pounding. "We are stronger together. This alliance is built on mutual respect, and together we will ensure that our worlds thrive. We reject division, fear, and violence. We choose collaboration, understanding, and progress." As the cheers erupted from the crowd, a sense of determination filled the air. The leaders vowed to confront the rogue factions head-on, working in tandem to maintain peace and uphold their agreement. In the following weeks, joint operations were launched to dismantle the extremist groups. With both sides collaborating, they effectively quelled dissent, fostering an environment of cooperation that gradually replaced fear with trust. As months turned into years, the alliance flourished. Earth and the Empire embarked on interstellar missions, exploring uncharted territories and deepening their partnership. Cultural exchanges blossomed, and both civilizations learned from each other, broadening their perspectives. Elena often reflected on how far they had come. What began as a dire warning to stay away from Earth transformed into an unbreakable bond, challenging the preconceived notions of both sides. In the end, humanity had not only defended its home, but had also stepped onto the galactic stage as a respected partner, proving that strength lay not in domination, but in unity and understanding. As she stood on the observation deck of a joint research vessel, gazing out at the stars, Elena felt a sense of peace. The universe was vast and filled with possibilities, and together they were ready to explore it, allies in a new era of discovery and shared destiny.